Today we're going to look at area of a triangle. So starting with these three triangles here, and you'll notice that they're laid out on a grid that forms a rectangle. So comment on what you notice. The first thing I'm going to do is just make some copies of these. So where is it? Snapshot. I'm just going to make a copy of them so that I can draw on them. Okay, so this is our original here, and what I'm going to do is just note something here. So I'm just going to outline this. And you'll notice that I'm going to call this the base of the triangle. That's that part there. This is what we're going to call the height, which is the height over there. Now, if I divide this rectangle up, this height here represents half the height. This also represents half the height. Okay, so here's the base. This part, or this rectangle here, is half the height, and this rectangle here is half the height. Together, it's the full height. Okay, why am I doing all of this? Well, if you can imagine what I'm going to start to do, I'm going to actually chop this part off. Imagine me chopping that part off, or that part off there. What it will mean is that I can remove it from here. So let's pretend that I'm doing that. I'm going to remove it, grab that, pick it up and move it there. Remove it from there. And I'm going to put it there. Okay, so that's where it's going to end up. So I'm taking it away from there. Whether I've got a rubber here that I can actually erase that, but yeah. And so what you might notice then is that this is what you end up with. Okay, this rectangle here. Now, how would I find the area of that rectangle? It's going to be area equals the base times half the perpendicular height. Now, you might notice that that is exactly the same as base times a half times the height, which really is just the formula for area of a triangle, which is base times half of the perpendicular height. Okay, let's have a look at how that might work for this scenario here. So let's go and have a look. I'm going to call this the base, and this, or this, is my height. Okay, so over here I'm going to do half the height again. That would be half the height. So this rectangle here is going to be half of the height. This rectangle here is going to involve base times half the height, and this is half the height. Okay, so base times half the height will give me what I'm after here. Now, why did I do that? Well, if you can imagine me chopping off this, now what I'm going to do is grab this bit here and stuff it there. And I'm going to grab this bit here and stuff it there. Right, so what will happen is that gets filled in, and we forget about this. That's not relevant. And what we've got again is a rectangle here. Base area equals base times half the perpendicular height. This last one is a little difficult to see, but I'll try my best to show you how it will work. So notice that we've got our base here. Our base there is from there to there. Now what's our height? Well, again, the height is the height of the triangle, which is this line here or this line here. Okay, so that's our height. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to divide this up into two rectangles. Here's our first. There's second. Okay, now how does this work? Well, again, this is the base. This is half the height. This is half the height. Let's start chopping this thing up. Okay, so just rule a line there. It's not a very good line. That'll do. Okay, now to do this, what I'm going to do is grab this bit here. Okay, and where I'm going to put it, I'm going to stuff it here. So this is basically half of a square. So put it there, and it's gone from there. And this bit here, if you actually have a look at it, it's a little bit hard to visualize, but that occupies the same area as this. So I could grab this and stuff it in there and remove it. What do I end up with? Well, I'm going to end up with that bit, that bit's gone, that bit's gone, and that bit filled in. So here's my rectangle here, which is area equals base times half the height. So what's our conclusion? To find out the area of a triangle, the area is equal to the base times half the perpendicular height. Now this formula takes on many forms. You can write it as area equals half times the base times the height. Area equals half BH for base times height. Area equals half base times height. There's heaps and heaps of different variations. Area equals base times height, all divided by 2 or halved. So whatever you were taught in primary school, it was probably right, but that's how the formula actually comes out. Let's try it out on a couple. So for this one here, we want to find its area. So area equals base times half the perpendicular height. So what's our base? Our base is 10 times half our perpendicular height is 4.5. Area equals 45 centimetres squared. Now for some of these, to avoid decimals, you might want to vary that formula, and that can be helpful as well. So you can do base times height first of all, and then multiply by half at the end. Let's try that one. So base times the height is 90 times a half. Half of 90 is 45 centimetres squared. So again, you can use the formula in whichever way you want. Okay, so this triangle here, we need to sort of tilt our head to see if we can work that one out. And that actually is going to be our base. So we're going to note that area equals base times half the perpendicular height. Area equals 6 times half of the height. Now what's the height? Well, it's just this one here. This is the height of the triangle. And so that's half of 9. Now, I'm going to rewrite that as half times 6 times 9. And 9 sixes are 54. So we're going to do half of 54, which is 27. Area equals 27 meters squared. Okay, the final one has 3 measurements. Okay, so what we need to do is work out what our base is. Area equals base times half the perpendicular height. Area equals the base. Now, I'm going to call this one the base here. So our base is 25, and here's our height. Okay, and how do I know that? Because that's the only thing that runs, or looks like it runs perpendicular to the base. So that's half of 5. Okay, area equals 25 times 5 times a half. I'm just going to reorder the multiplication. Okay, now 5 times 25. 212. Area equals half times 125. So what is a half of 125? Let's put 2 into 125. 0, 6, 2.0 carry 1, 62.5. Area equals 62.5 meters squared.